so you can watch later. Welcome to Insider Secrets for Online Credibility. I'm going to give you a great big wave hello. And I use a big wave here from the ocean because our motto for the self-employed communication professionals for 15 years has been, we are the rising tide that's lifting all the boats. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you lift the boats. I told you as you dropped into the lobby that we do have some great checklists, so be sure to download those before you leave the lobby today. These checklists include a checklist for collecting and publishing case studies, which are such powerful credibility builders for your online presence. There's also a checklist for collecting and publishing testimonials. This has really changed over the years, so you'll want to pay attention to that. Today, testimonials have a little bit different role to play in our business and online credibility building than they used to, maybe just 5 years ago. There's also some great tips in there for how to use and publish them correctly and really powerfully. So who are we? I'm Barbara, the Solo Pro Success Coach, and I have I didn't want to say 20 years of experience as a master designer, but that's the way it is. I've been saying over 15 years, but no, it's nearly 20 years as a master designer, specializing in graphic design and multimedia for businesses, large and small. And I'm also a business expert who specializes in my passion, solo pros. So that's why I'm doing this show today, because my passion is really getting my people to present themselves as the great experts that they are in a credible way. And I want to introduce to you my partner today, who is Susan Rich. Susan, tell us a little bit about your background.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Susan Rich, and my business is Rich Writing. And I deliver sophisticated and effective online content to solo pros who are business and lifestyle coaches, medical professionals, and public speakers. And I work with that group in particular because you all have a really unique need to tell a particular story. But even if you're not in that group and you're just listening on the show today, what I'm going to talk about from my perspective is how you resonate with what I call an invisible audience. So when you're dealing with your website presence, how can you make yourself stand out from the thousands of other practitioners who are similar in some ways to what you're doing? Now, I have a journalism degree, and I do have more than 20 years of experience in PR and marketing. And I guess I have to own that number sooner or later. My birthday's coming up. And I'm also the host of Internet Radio's daily show, Susan Rich Talks. And so I'm on the air Monday through Friday, and I talk a lot about writing and marketing. And for the last 4 years, I've got the signature workshop, which is called Resonate with an Invisible Audience. And that, again, is where I teach business owners like you how to write for the Internet. And I teach those strategies that help you connect with people that you've never met before. And my special bonus, my thank you for listening to the show today, is a free report called 9 Reasons Why I Hate Your Website and dozens of ways you can fix it. And they'll tell you how to get that at the end of the talk today.
Excellent. So you're asking yourself, why, God, why are we here? Your internet presence is so important, more so than it was even 3 years ago, let alone a decade ago, because business is taking place on the internet. Do you know that 93% of the planet now has access to the internet? You can now, as a solo pro, work where the money is instead of being tied to your local economy. This is how solo pros build their own economy. But you've got to understand how it works, and you've got to really work it for yourself. Number one, you have 4.3 seconds to impress your visitors. And that time span is going down all the time. It's scary. People are really saturated.
Mm-hmm. And I want to just kind of go and reiterate that. We're bombarded by thousands of messages every day. And so it's no surprise that we feel saturated or overwhelmed. And it's also no surprise that it's hard to get your target client's attention. Mm-hmm. And, yeah.
You know, I love to tell the story that, I hope some of you have heard of Chris Brogan. He's out there on the internet, and he does these wonderful, goofy tests. And one of them that he did was at the New York City airport. I guess it's not called the New York, it's LaGuardia Airport, isn't it? And he put up rotating banners, like, those big billboards all over the airport that said, "You have won $1,000. Come pick up your check at the customer service desk." And he did that. Millions of people go through that airport every day. Did it for 24 hours. Not one person came to the customer service desk to pick up their check. That's so saturated. People are not seeing messages anymore. So how do you stand above all that clutter and all that noise? We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about people need to feel secure. When they come to your website, like Susan said, she helps people learn how to resonate with invisible people. That's not the word. Invisible audiences. Because, we're on the internet. It's not a physical relationship. It's an internet relationship, and it's scary. There's a level of security that you need to build into your presence. And here's another thing. People invest more with experts and professionals. So being perceived as an expert and a professional will have an immediate effect on your bottom line. And perception is essential. Perception is on the part of the visitor to your website. So how they perceive you is really essential to whether they're going to do business with you.
And we're going to talk a lot about that perception idea because we've got some tips later on in the presentation that you'll be able to put in play right away about how you perceive it. What are some of the things you can do to enhance your online presence?
Definitely. And lastly, you have got to look the part, both online and offline. We're going to talk about building in some consistency in how you present yourself as an expert on your online presence as well as your offline presence.
Okay, and before we move on, I just want to really reinforce how little time we have to connect with people because it bears repeating because I work with a lot of folks who say, yeah, I know I hop on and off of sites really quick when I'm searching, but my business is different. People will come to my spend time with me, and unfortunately it isn't true, and here's why. Our target market is the person first, just like you. They have business, family, chores, money, traffic, all kinds of things on their mind. So even when they're at work or in front of their computer, they're still wildly distracted. So in order for you to captivate that audience, your messaging has got to be clear, concise, and not overwhelming. Because again, if we're already distracted to begin with, if you make it hard for us, if you give us too many choices, too many calls to action, we're going to leave. We're too busy. We just want someone to make it incredibly easy for us. And that has a lot to do with credibility. So what we're going to get into right now is how quickly can you establish why you and how you can help somebody.
Great point. And I just have to say, working with journalists like Susan is a real eye-opener because all of us think we can write. And sometimes it takes us 1,500 to 2,000 words to say something that a journalist can say in 100 words. This is the point that we're trying to get across. Be really clear. Get your point. Susan talks about the inverted pyramid, the most important point first. And it's not your most important point. It's their most important point that you need to get across first.
Exactly.
Why is it so important? Because you cannot camouflage yourself on the web. Just because you can't see them does not mean that they can't see you. We have to work harder to create a personal connection, especially on the web. We can't just pretend to be someone that we're not.
This is true, and just to keep in mind that people look at your website for one of two reasons. You met them at a networking event, you met them face-to-face, and they're going to your website and your social media to check you out to see if you're actually credible. It's one of those interesting things that are going on right now that It used to be, like in Barbara's and our early days, we would go to meetings and meet face-to-face, and we'd, give you our business card, and maybe we would meet for coffee, and we would establish our credibility face-to-face. Well, now with the advent of the Internet, even if you meet us in person, you're still going to go online and check us out. You might look us up in Yelp or some of the other tools to find out what people are saying about us. The other way that people find us is you're doing an organic search. You're looking for something in particular, and this website has turned up. And so that's why you don't have any camouflage. You've got to absolutely manifest who you are and your credibility at all times.
Well, that's a great point, the search, the organic search. You want to make sure that you show up on your website as one person, and you want to show up on your online profiles as the same person.
Consistency in messaging, which we'll talk about, but just keeping in mind that people aren't going to pause through multiple pages of content on your website to get to know you. They're really going to decide whatever page they land on within a blink if they want to go any further. And that's just a simple point to make, is that understanding that Google will serve up pages in any order. So the first page that somebody gets on is not necessarily your home page. And so you want to make sure that every page in your site is positioning you as a credible expert.
Excellent. So what we're going to be talking about today, first we're going to talk about what is trust and how do you earn it. How do you reassure your visitors that you're trustworthy? Second, we're going to talk about your most valuable commodity, which is your expertise. An expert must stand out as a professional. Then we're going to give you some tips to establish a credible online presence. You'll get some great suggestions you can use right away. And we're going to talk about the cost of doing it yourself and how that can kill your business. You must invest in your business. So trust. You must build trust. Just saying I'm trustworthy doesn't do it. So what is trust? It's a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of you to deliver on your promise. Trust allows people to feel connected to something that's larger than themselves. How important is that to us today?
I think it's really important because the trust, that whole idea is more than just a good design, which is what Barbara is an expert at, and really good copywriting, which of course is what I do. You have to find a way to connect, again, with those people that either you know personally or you're trying to pull towards you through your online marketing. But it does, I think, come down to a lot to what we say and how we say it. Trust is part of resonating. It's, we think we want how do I say this? Most of us go into business and we say to ourselves, I want every customer I can get.
Yes.
That isn't true. And the longer you're in business, the more you understand the value of niching yourself, of creating that unique pool of customers, because you want to do a certain kind of work and be successful, and your customers need certain things accomplished that will make them successful. Trust is how you make sure you build those kinds of relationships, and it is a two-way street.
Definitely. And you're going to hear us say this word over and over again in this hour. Consistent, consistent, consistent. You foster trust with a consistent online, offline presence. And as Susan was mentioning about the niching, when you really, really work with people you resonate with, it's easy to be consistent.
And so consistent, and then simple communications. And so another part of trust is transparent writing, no hype.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us, it's interesting how many sites we can get onto, and the hype is so strong that we feel like, it's used car sales and all those cliches, that oily critter who's just trying to get us to part with our money. And most of us are turned off by it, and yet that's what you see a lot of these days. And just keeping in mind that our consumers are savvier than we think, and so there's a lot of, if you don't like IT language, if you want to be talked to very clearly and simply, so do your customers. And so if you go too far in the other direction, then you'll actually start to harm your credibility, because people wonder what it is you're trying to hide, because you're using all this blown-out language to tell them your story.
Great point. Always use yourself as the measure. if you don't like it, odds are your website visitors are not going to like it either. So before we begin, let's talk a little bit about credibility and measuring credibility. Your online credibility begins with your online activity. It's your website, all of your profiles. It's not just a website anymore. We've got so many profiles. The quality of your posts and all your other content that you put out there. Your status updates. And the quality of being convincing or believable. Your credibility is priceless, and you don't want to jeopardize or lose that.
And it's also instantaneous. And so, again, using yourself as a marker, if you think about this in your daily interactive world, you decide the moment you walk into a business whether you want to stay or go. I mean, it's everything from, the gas station, where you might want to grab a road snack, to your grocery store, to retail outlets, to that new boutique that opened up. Really, when we walk around our world, we make instant decisions about who we want to do business with. And your website and social media pages, I think, work the same way. So, again, that instantly land on a page, and Barbara's got some great website examples coming up. You're going to decide whether this business is credible and whether sticking around is going to help you solve a problem or it's going to make it worse.
Well, and I love that point, Susan. Thank you. It's true. When you look at your environment, is it cluttered? Is it unclean? Is it, conflicting and shouting at you? It's the same as online. You want to keep your profiles and your websites, all your updates, really clean and uncluttered. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get a little personal, especially in your status updates. We want to know you as people. But remember this and write this down. Do not say anything in any of your profiles, any of your status updates that you would not mind saying in front of 150 of your most closest friends.
I don't have 150 friends. Wait.
You do now.
No, but it's actually very good advice, and a lot of us have heard that so many times. And if you're over 40, it becomes kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, we know that, but the younger generation who might be listening in on the call today, it's really critical to not overshare some of that personal detail. And, of course, we're all watching this whole thing with Facebook where potential employers are asking for your password so they can suss you out online.
FYI, don't give them your password.
Don't give them your password, but, I mean, it's a form of coercion. If you want that job, you have to provide this information. And watching the media, react to it, I've seen some great comments. But I might as well give them my bank account information so they can see, what kinds of items I buy for my house. I mean, it's an invasion of privacy on one side of it, but also don't invite it. Yeah, and on the other side of it, make sure that what you share about yourself is professional, business related, or if it's personal, it's something that, like Barbara says, you don't mind sharing with the world. It's okay if people know that you're married, you have kids, you're a grandparent, and you're really excited about your upcoming vacation. But beyond that,
keep the leathers and chains to yourself.
Exactly.
Let's do some comparison. It's always, when people kind of talk about these abstract things, it's hard to get it in your mind. So let's look at a couple of websites. And there's a warning disclaimer here. I did not design any of these websites. But let's look at them so you can kind of get in your mind what we're talking about. Here's a website of a content publisher. Now, this man is publishing, a content publisher publishes information. It's usually nonfiction, educational, how-to type stuff. Now I want you to look at this website here. The cleanest thing about it is the content publisher underneath it, and I put that on there. I mean, if you look at this site long enough, you will have an epileptic fit. There's too many colors going on. You can't even read much of the content. Trying to figure out who he's talking to and even what he's specializing in is absolutely impossible. Now, I want you to take a look at this site. Clean, clear, really, she's got the colors just really banked down there. I mean, there's an orange in there for emphasis, but it's clean and it's clear. And you know what I really love about this is that she's got her picture right there and we're getting some eye contact. That's how you really start developing relationships, even if it's just a standard photo. We look at her. She doesn't have fangs or horns. She looks like a real person that we can relate to.
Yes, and can we go back to the other slide? Because I just want to make my own comparisons as a writer.
Please.
So what happens when I look at this side, there's too many places for the eye to land. Okay, so if you're looking at it, you're jittering all over the place because there's no single focal point. There's no words that even pull you into one particular area or another. And that makes, and remember that we're really busy. You just have a few seconds to capture attention. We land on this site and we go, oh, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm out of here.
Yes.
So while we might not mistrust this site, it's not credibility as much as, we feel like you're wasting my time. I don't know what you want me to do. You're not helping me. You're making me crabby. And irritated visitors just don't make good customers.
No.
Right?
They don't pay well.
No. So if we go to the next page, the other slide, what I like here is she's got a really simple directive. Get published now. So if you landed on this page and you were not interested in writing a book or publishing a book, you landed on it because somehow the keyword got triggered, you would look and go, oh, it's self-selected. It's not me. It's not for me right now. And you leave. And that's fine. That's fair. But if it is the page that you're looking for, you've got a really incredible positive message. Get published now. Rise, publishing, creating books that build thriving business. I mean, right at a glance. I mean, read so fast. You get all this information about what this page will do for you.
Well, and I love having, a journalist here on the call with us because it's so important to understand a designer's job is not to make something look pretty. A designer's job is to organize content, information in a way that is easily accessible. And when we look at this example, where is the navigation bar? Can you see where you want to go next? I can't. When we look at this example of site, the navigation bar is right up there at the top where we expect it to be. It's clean and crisp and clear. We can see, oh, well, I'd like to know about her special projects, or I want to know about what events she has coming up. It's right there in front of us. I want to contact her. It's in one place. It's simple and easy to use. She's also got some examples of some work that she's already done there down at the bottom. It's not cluttered. It's not scattered all over. It's really easy to access the content that she's giving us.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, Barbara, if you go back to that previous slide, as a designer, this is clearly an older site. This is bad design, I'm sure, in any... I'm sure your professors would have shot you in the head if you tried this when you were in school, but basically, this is still an outdated... Back in the Wild West days of the web, a lot of web pages looked like this because there were no real design rules. People hadn't worked through what logical navigation was. And so the other thing that happens, and we'll talk about this later on, is this is a very dated site. Mm-hmm. So you look at it, and immediately what will happen is you don't think the information is current. And if it's not current information, most of us can't do anything with it because we need a current, relevant solution right now. And that next slide, from a design perspective, it's clearly modern. Orange is a modern color. Her photography, that close-up of her face, that's more modern, getting tight in like that, cutting a piece of her face off. That's all things that speak to today's generation.
And that's an excellent point because, as you said about this, it's dated. It also, by comparison, dates him. He's not an up-to-date expert if this is what he's presenting himself as. And I don't really want to work with somebody who's not up-to-date with what's going on today. Uh-huh. Whereas, I'm going to trust this person here because she's right on the money. She knows what's going on right now. And believe me, business, especially for solo pros, moves at the speed of light. And we want people who know what's going on today, not what's going on in the 1960s.
Yeah. Let's look at the next one.
This is the next example. This is a business coach site. This guy actually wants you to trust him to help you build your business. First of all, do you see anything that identifies him as a person? I don't. It's so very, very text heavy. In fact, if you squint your eyes, all you really see is a little blob of blue at the top and a whole lot of gray.
A whole lot of gray.
A whole lot of gray.
And too much text and not enough visuals. And even though I'm a lover of the words myself, you need to break it up. You need to have a lot of white space, a lot of air, because it's really hard to read online. And again, if you only have a few seconds to capture someone's attention, you need to learn to use white space to your advantage so that the elements that are on the page actually grab your attention.
And, let's look at the headlines there. Does that headline background really draw you in? It doesn't draw me in. I don't want to read about this guy's background. It doesn't say what he's going to do to me or for me. I want to know what the person what is going to do for me. I'm going to hire them. Why should I learn about what their background is? Let's look at this site in comparison. Now, this is a business coach. Do you get a feeling that there's a real person here? She's got this wonderful open photo. Her whole presence is open yet professional. And you've got right there, get instant access. How's that for a call to action? And then you've got her book right there. Those are credibility pieces right there in front of you. Then it tells you who she is and what she does for you. And again, there's that navigation bar right where we want it to be easy and navigational.
And I like her simple question, which is part of the call to action. What if you could have a steady stream of clients and a successful business?
And right next, yeah, go ahead, Susan.
That's what most of us want, to answer that question. What if you could have a steady stream of clients and a successful business? So any person who's in business gets onto this page and they look at that question. That's a call to action that's saying, she can help me. Maybe she's not a specialist in the area that I'm looking for, but at least it keeps you on the page a little while longer so you can see what it is that she does and how she might be able to help you.
Exactly. And we're going to talk a little bit about logos later on, but you'll see right up there in the right-hand corner, she's got her puzzle piece, and that is her logo because she helps people put the puzzle together in their business. That's a really great logo use, and she uses it with everything that she does, everything she produces. I also wanted to call out that right there in the right bottom corner, she's got a way for you to connect with her immediately. Great call to action piece. So let's jump right in and talk about some tips that you can use right now to start building your online credibility. First of all, you don't really need to spend a fortune, but working with a professional design and copy can go a long way to building credibility. You wouldn't cut your own hair, would you?
I don't know. I might trim my bangs, but no. but really, what we're saying, and it's true, and of course it's a little tiny bit self-serving, but the reason why you don't want to cheat on creating copy or investing in design is it matters. You can do it yourself, and I teach classes. I teach people how to write their own marketing copy, and I absolutely believe everyone should know how. But when it comes to certain elements of your marketing message, it's really good to bring in a writer or a designer to make sure that what you think about yourself is manifested in the words and the images that you choose. And so one piece of advice, and I'm assuming Barbara's going to agree with me here, but if you have to weight your budget in one direction, copy is what people actually search on. Don't plan your budget. Leave room for the words. I mean, a lot of designers, and we'll talk about this in a second, they'll try and push you on Flash. They'll push you on some really cool, gorgeous-looking pages, but when people are sitting in front of Google, they start searching on their pain, the words that they're using to find a solution. If those words are not on your website, you're not going to be found, and that's one reason why you don't have to spend a ton of money on your website design or even your copywriting, but you want to make sure that the ideas are present so people can find you.
Exactly, and I'm going to agree with you there, Susan. The words are what's important, and with okay, I'll say it, 2 decades worth of design experience. When you are hiring or talking to a designer, and they want to focus on the design, go find another designer. Because it's the message that's the most important. It's the designer's job to bring the message out and to emphasize that message in a clean, consistent, constant way. So just a tip on looking for designers there. The cleaner the design, the better.
That's a really good point. And make sure, and it's okay for you to ask that question. Make sure that they're not just doing what they think is really cool, because that's what they're good at. Are they actually helping you tell your business story?
Exactly. That's brilliant. And, I said we're going to talk about logos, and here are a couple. Your logo is, helps you develop a really strong visual representation of your inherent credibility. As I said with the business coach example back there, Jennifer's logo is a puzzle, because part of what she does is she helps people put the puzzle pieces together to build their business. She focuses on sales. You'll see the logo at the right is the logo for my association, the Self-Employed Communication Professionals, because we were building community and we wanted people's input. And you'll see you've got writers there. You've got a photographer over on one side. That's a designer there. That's actually a tie he's wearing in the middle. Everybody has a voice, and we want to connect people. That's our logo for our association. And you'll see Susan's logo down there at the bottom. Guess what? Susan's a writer.
But the point I want to make is the logo is a piece of art, which is obvious, but it's the graphic that represents your company. So what your logo is going to do is tell the reader at a glance who you are and what you do. So if you're wondering just how powerful is the logo, consider for a moment the Jolly Green Giant, Ronald McDonald, the Michelin Tire Man, the Campbell Soup Kid.
Those golden arches. Yeah.
Add in the Starbucks Maiden, the Nike swoosh, that ubiquitous bitten apple. So even if I say these words to you, you should be getting mental images of each and every one of those logos. And you should know also, what does that company do? And that's an incredibly important idea. So what we're working towards as business owners and our credibility is the idea that when you don't have pictures or text to tell your company's story, sometimes you're a sponsor, you're sponsored for a program, and all you can put out there is your logo. That logo is going to tell people who you are, what you stand for, and represent your credibility. And so that's why a good logo is really worth the investment. Because if your logo is going to stand in for the copy, it has to represent everything you are.
That personality. And that's a great point, when we talk about, your 30-second elevator speech. Your logo and your tagline, which is what we're going to talk about next. And Susan's got a great example right here with hers. Grab attention, drive action, get noticed now. That's her tagline. That is her logo's 30-second or less, probably 3-second elevator speech. Taglines help you find the words that tell your business story. They're the lines you remember.
That's exactly right. They're the lines that you remember. So, and a tagline has a couple of jobs, and just to kind of eliminate some of the confusion around it, the tagline can be a company slogan. It can also be attached to a particular ad campaign or a product announcement that you have. So a tagline can have several different jobs. But what a tagline really is the distillation of your key sales message. And so that's why you want to come up with as few words as possible and make them very visual and compelling. And it's not easy to do, and so it's worth working with your whole marketing team, yourself, maybe your family members if you're in do-it-yourself mode. But be creative with it, and don't be afraid to invest quite a bit of time putting the tagline together, because, again, if you don't have room for a whole block of copy, that tagline has to tell people what it is that you do. Bob, you'll go over a couple of famous taglines?
Well, yeah, I do. I just wanted to kind of hit on what you said there. Is keep in mind your tagline and your target niche, your ideal client, as you create your tagline. An example that comes to mind is a networking group, online networking group called Biznick. And their tagline is, it's networking that doesn't suck. And what I love about that is that they know that their business members are self-employed rebels who don't like to go to chamber meetings and, lead networking and BNI meetings. That networking sucks. You know, so as you build your taglines, and Susan did a wonderful exercise with me years ago as we created the tagline for our association, where she took words and cut them up into little strips and threw them all over the table.
I like a game of concentration. Yeah, you put all the words that are related to your business and words that your competitors use and words that you'd like associated with your business, and you put one individual word on a piece of paper, and then you lay them all out on a table face up, because it's not really a card game, and then you just let your eye rove and you create phrases that way, and you write all of those down, and then you keep moving the pieces of paper around, and eventually you'll come up with a couple of really good tagline ideas. You can actually find a business name that way. You can find a product name that way. It's a really fun exercise that gets you to use your whole creativity, because there's a lot to be said for when you handwrite something and you stand up and then you physically move things around. You're engaging all of your senses. And so when we're trying to connect with people, first you want to connect with your own native creativity. But I just want to talk quickly about, some of the taglines that are absolutely classic are like Nike's, just do it.
Yes.
And FedEx, that famous, when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. Again, when you hear those, you get an awful lot of images. You also get some emotional reactions, which is a really big part of communication and connecting with people online, is can you instill some kind of emotional connection with that person?
Yeah, I have to admit the one that comes to my mind right now was going to tell a lot about me, but 2 great tastes in 1 candy bar. Go on.
Well, 5 o'clock somewhere. There's a candy bar out there waiting for you, Barbara.
Or else it melts in your mouth and not in your hands.
That's right.
It tells a lot about me, doesn't it?
It does. But the final point that I want to make is that when you're looking at a design, sometimes the logo and the tagline are physically together.
Mm-hmm.
Really important that they share the same core message, because if they don't, you've created instant dissonance, and that will confuse your visitor.
Exactly. And you want to stay, if you're a country western shop and all of a sudden your tagline has more to do with, urban renewal, there's not going to be a synergy there. Again, remember, consistent. We mentioned earlier Flash. You want to avoid using it at all costs. Yes, it's cool. I know it's cool. Save it for your videos. If it needs more than 2 seconds to load on your website, us as your visitors are gone.
Sometimes when I get onto Flash, I get onto a site and it has that message that says waiting or loading, and I feel like you're holding your site hostage until I watch your video, and I find that really frustrating, because it's you telling me your story instead of inviting me to come on to your site and find out what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So the minute you put yourself first, you're telling me that this is all about you. You're not really worried about me. Again, it's a designer gone haywire.
It's a designer gone haywire. We love designers. Just keep the bridle on them.
And another point, just quickly, Barbara, Google doesn't search for Flash. That's the other really important reason why you want to avoid it on your site, because Google indexes words and pictures, and so if you've got Flash files on your site, Google can't find them. So that's a really compelling reason not to use it, because it's an absolute barrier to telling your story, because you can't get found.
Yes, thank you for making that point. That's brilliant. Another important thing to remember, every single page of your website has a job to do. So you want to make sure that you're telling your visitors what you want them to do on that page. Call out what you want them to do. Whether it's follow me, give me your email address so we can create a better relationship, or, join now, or whatever it is you want them to do. You must tell them what you want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, the call to action is actually why you have a website in the first place.
Yes.
Think about it this way. So your website can be an online brochure. It can be a shopping cart. It can be an information center. So there's a lot of reasons why you will have a website, which means that every single page in that website has a job to do. And it's not always sell something. A lot of times, like Barbara says, it's about connecting. Can we get your address? We can send you some information about our product. Can we send you a coupon? What can we do to form that relationship? Can you follow us on Twitter so we tell you about our food cart specials? there's a lot of relationship building that has to go on with today's website. Again, it's not what it was like in the mid-90s when they first started.
Yeah, when it was just a place to come look. And as Susan said, you can follow me on Twitter. Think of it as inviting your visitor to come visit you at a cocktail party. Twitter is the cocktail party of social media. I like to refer to Facebook as the barbecue, but that's another topic.
But the thing about your calls to action can you go back for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
So your call to action, really, you want to lead the visitor through the sales cycle. So it's about from information to knowledge to choice. So again, it's not just about the sales, it's about building that relationship. And so your calls to action have to pull people into your sales funnel and then keep the dialogue going as they move through the decision-making process. So if you're selling, keep in mind that most people, large or small purchases, they take a long time to make a decision. Unless my car was totaled and I need a car for work tomorrow, I'm not in a rush to buy a car. I'm not in a rush necessarily to, order from your online bakery. I'm learning, I'm thinking. And so understand that most people don't tend to make really instant decisions. And so set up your calls to action so that you can stand in front of them for that moment in time and they go, oh my gosh, I need it right now. And you are top of mind. I wanted to do business with you. That's what the calls to action actually do.
That's a great point, and it's important to remember that the time between initial contact and that first sale is longer today than it might have been 10 years ago because there's that added distance of the internet. So we need to get to know each other before we feel comfortable moving to the next step in the transaction. So make it easy. Tell them what to do next. And don't be mysterious. People want to know who they're doing business with. Always have an about page on your site. Remember the first business coach example website that I gave you there. We had no idea who that guy was. Let people know who you are. You're building a relationship. And Susan, do you want to talk a little bit about pages?
So the About page, that's a really important page. It is a bio about you, or it's not just about you, your immediate sales team, the people that your potential customers might engage with, even if it's over the telephone. And so it's a way of introducing readers to the face behind the company. Again, it's another way to resonate with an invisible audience. And the About page, you tell your business story, how you got started, why this particular business, what's your passion, and you want to tell that story well. The About page is not really the first page people get to, but if they get on a home page or they get on a product page, before they go to your shopping cart, chances are they're going to look at you to see if you're a legitimate business person. This goes back to some of the stuff we talked about earlier about establishing your credibility. So the About page is really your opportunity to say, here I am. I am really a face behind the mask.
Well, remember, people don't like to read. So you also want to keep it short, about 300 words. And please, please, please don't waste those 300 words on where you grew up unless it's absolutely essential. Or, the dog. Remember, this is professional, so you want to use those 300 words like a journalist would. The most important points first. Keep it short and punchy.
Keep it short and punchy. If you only have one thing that people can know about you, share that.
And remember, business on the internet is not anonymous. That's really the whole thing behind online credibility is who you are. Use a real photo. And I love this example here. You've got great eye contact. There's an open smile. You don't necessarily need the thumbs up there, please. I do want to see a slew of thumbs up photos coming out of this show. But use your full name. Be who you are. Let yourself shine through. And get really in close when you have that headshot taken. Have it right up into your face so people can see your eyes. It's eye contact here. Use your full real name. And connected to that, we want to know that you're real people. It doesn't have to be your street address. In fact, women, I especially would suggest don't use your street address. A P.O. box works fine, but have a way to contact you. Make it easy.
Yes, make it easy. And also, I just want to make a final point about the tip number 7. While your full name helps you search, and it's also using your the contact us page, is keep in mind that some of us have common names, like Bob Smith. When you use your full name, it helps people find you. And so if you key in on somebody's name, you should turn up their Facebook, their LinkedIn profile, some information about them. So you also want to check and see, first use your full name, and then it doesn't hurt to find out who else out there has your name. Because if they have a very different business or one that doesn't relate or resonate with you, you want to do something to distinguish yourself. Otherwise, people might think that, for me, my name is Susan Rich. There is a Susan Rich who is actually a poet. She's a famous author. So if you type my name in, she actually outranks me. Now, I'm really happy that a famous poet outranks me. I would be less happy if that Susan Rich was a pole dancer. I might have to do something else. I might have to go by Susan E. Rich, my middle initial. So just a thought about not being anonymous, and also making sure that you're controlling your message, and that is as simple as understanding who has your name.
Good point. And also remember, we talked about getting your posts out there and your strategies. As you're writing articles, you can post those in different places, and your author's box is going to have your name in it. So do this little tip. Here's a little tip to kind of test yourself. Google yourself. Google yourself every couple months and see how you're showing up. Is there a way that you can kind of bump yourself up there? It's a great message there about your real name. Thank you, Susan. We talked about getting your contact information out there. You want to make it easy for people to contact you. And here's a great one. Showcase your expertise in in-depth case studies. It helps your prospects learn how they can work with you. They can see themselves through your case studies. And we have included in the downloads today, in the lobby, you saw there were some downloads. We included a checklist of exactly how you can do case studies and a couple of templates to follow to make it really easy for you.
Excuse me, where did I find that information?
It's in the lobby. We'll go back to the lobby after the presentation, and you can download it. You'll also get them in a email coming to you right after the show.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure that you all got them. And Susan, you had a tip that you wanted to share with case studies from a copywriter point of view.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. There's some noise on the line.
Oh, okay. We were talking about case studies, and you had a tip for us in doing case studies.
Well, I had a tip about getting recommendations and things like that.
Oh, that's right. That's what we're talking about next.
What I can say
Testimonials.
about case studies just really quickly is that they are a truly golden opportunity, because if you tell your client that you want to do a case study on them, then you have this wonderful opportunity to spend more time working with them, working through their challenges, and then you write something up, and it's about their company, and chances are they're so happy to have a case study about them that they'll promote it, you'll promote it, and you're going to get more bang for the buck. And that's why case studies are success stories. That's why they're so powerful. Exactly,
and they're called social proof because other people are proving what you're saying. Great credibility builder. And, the next thing we're talking about is collecting and publishing testimonials regularly. Those are another source of really invaluable social proof. And you're right, Susan, you did have the excellent tip here for how you get testimonials.
Mm-hmm. So what I do, most people know that at the end of a project, you really should try and collect a testimonial when you're fresh in that customer's mind. What I like to do is make sure that I'm connected with that person on LinkedIn, and then as soon as the project's over, I ask them for a recommendation. And so it formalizes it. Of course, I can cut and paste it onto my website, but it's great because now it's in your LinkedIn profile. And one of the other things I use, I've got a radio show, so after my shows are over, I send a recommendation out to my guests, and in that way, I'm building my reputation as a public speaker. And so think about how you can use LinkedIn strategically, because there's just some wonderful tools there if you think about how you can make it work to your advantage. It really builds your credibility.
Excellent tip. And, building these systems into your regular practice as you grow your business, it will be invaluable.
And of course, video, real quick, Barbara. How important is video?
Oh, definitely. If you have the opportunity to get your clients to do a quick video testimonial for you, it's one step closer, because you've got that person live speaking and talking about you, which is just one step closer than the written word. Video. If you can get your clients to do a testimony for you on a short video clip, and you really don't go over a minute or two at the most, very short. Remember, short attention spans on the net. But if you can get your client to do a quick video testimonial for you, it's that one step closer to an intimate online, to like an offline relationship or an offline experience with a person, whereas the written word is a little more distant. So video testimonials are huge. Also, talking about that social credibility is, seek out some and publish endorsements from influential people within your niche. For an example, I talk to a lot of book authors who write on business topics, and so it's wonderful to kind of get them to say something nice about me, or print one of my articles in one of their newspapers or their newsletters. That's social proof right there that somebody else is endorsing you. It's not you saying it about you.
Mm-hmm. And you can also see if they'll endorse a book you've written or a workshop.
Excellent point, yes. Take pride in your accomplishments. Really showcase any media coverage, interviews, awards you've won. Susan's a master at this. She's been on the local news several times, and those spots are all on her website. You want to tell us a little bit about how you got that to happen, Susan?
Well, I wrote a book on how to write cover letters, and I put out the press release, and I got coverage in the local papers that this book had been published, and then I was able to get on Channel 2 and Channel 6 with targeted interviews. And then from there, it leveraged into job seeker networking groups, and I gave the talk. And then from there, it moved on to like the libraries, because those are paid speaking gigs. And so at this point, I'm steadily leveraging this book into a series of workshops, which I give away for free, and now I've moved into the paying gigs. And so there's an awful lot of building with the credibility that comes when you write a book and start promoting it, and getting those endorsements and those testimonials.
Exactly. And remember, the SEO, every time someone Googles Susan's name, she comes up not only on Susan's website, but there's Channel 2 with Susan on it, and there's Channel 6 with Susan on it. That's incredible endorsement.
Exactly.
Here's another tip. Join credibility-boosting organizations and display their logos on your website. It might be your local Chamber of Commerce. It might be the Rotary. It might be some causes if you are supporting the animal shelter or, the Susan G. Komen walk. Anything that makes you more of a person on your website is really powerful. If you've got certifications in different programs, get those logos on your website. Now, you want to put them at the bottom of your page. Don't put them at the top, because they're not really important information about what you do for people. They're supporting information. So put them at the bottom of your site. And here's something Susan can really talk to. Nobody's perfect, but you always want to double check your content. We're so blessed today to have online communication, because we can, if we do make a mistake, it doesn't have to stay there. It's not, we don't have 50,000 copies of it in print. We can change it immediately.
But here's some suggestions. After you've written something, before you publish it, read it out loud, have a friend read it, and then write first, edit second, and post third, like a day or so later. So give yourself time in your message development. Don't just be in a rush to get something out there, because you want to make sure, again, this goes to your credibility, and it's not about the misspelled words, which are problematic. It's also about, did you actually say what you mean to say? Because inside our heads, we know what we want to say, but it's not true that our reader actually grasps the true meaning.
Well, and that's a great point, because we speak emotionally, and our voice has inflections, and when we write it in text down on paper or on the screen, that emotion doesn't come across. And so we want to make sure, like Susan says, read it back with that kind of an ear. Is it really saying what I want it to say? And I'll just tell a story on myself, as an example of why this is important. I always share my faux pas with everyone so they can learn from it. I did a program a couple years ago on the shifts that have taken place in the marketing industry in the last decade. There's been 6 significant shifts that really, really affect solo-based businesses, and I called it the marketing shifts. There's an F in there. However, I forgot, or I left out the F in the title when I posted it. So it said marketing shift without the F. And lucky for me, most of my members of my association are editors. So it came back right immediately almost. I had about 6 editors telling me that I shouldn't be using that SHIT word. So
and I want to share some writing advice in general, though, because don't wait for perfection. It doesn't exist.
No.
So if you're blogging, if you're doing your social media, don't hang on to copy it's absolutely perfect, because if you wait for that moment, you will create a case of failure to launch. You will be holding your message and actually stalling your business, because you're waiting for that program to be perfect, that offering to be launched, whatever you're waiting for, you end up procrastinating. So just learn to let it go, because your skills will improve when you write and publish. They won't improve if you write and don't share.
Right, and that paralysis can really kill your business. So
absolutely.
Great point.
I would like to add just a tip about proofreading, if I could.
Yes, please.
And that is, I read everything from the bottom up. And I have found a lot of things, mistakes, spelling errors, grammar, and things I didn't really want to say by reading it backwards. It slowed me down, made me look at what was really there.
Interesting.
A very good tip still is changing the typeface. So if you're typing in Times Roman, change it to Arial or something really hard to read, because it'll slow you down as well. That's another good editing tip.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Tip number 5, respond to all inquiries in a timely manner. When you've made it possible for people to contact you now, don't hide out when they start contacting you. That's what you're in business for. So be sure, get out there. Don't let it paralyze you. We want to talk a little bit about making sure you have a privacy policy on your website. You want to make people feel safe to share with you. This might be as simple as just saying we're not going to use or sell your email address if you don't want us to, or we never sell your email address. Many times if you use an email collector like Aweber, it's actually included there for you. Depending on what you do, you might actually even have an entire page dedicated to the privacy policy. We don't share anything that you tell us. Everything you talk to us about is confidential. So keep that in mind. On the web, there are plenty of boilerplate privacy policy content that you can go out and find, but it's just something to really be aware of and think of. Remember, you want to make people feel safe to do business with you.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about copyright. First of all, remember that you want to create your own content, and you want to keep your copyright statement up to date. There's nothing worse than seeing a copyright of 2004 when it's 2012. Like the first website that we looked at, it looked so dated that we didn't trust that person because he looked out of date. If this can be as simple as just keeping the copyright, if you're using a WordPress blog, you can update that date at the bottom. It's in your footnotes. Just update that date every year. It's as simple as that.
There's a lot of noise on there. It sounds like somebody's filing their nails or something, and I couldn't hear if it's important to have a date or not a date on the copyright.
Yes, it is. It is important to have an up-to-date date. And thank you for asking that. And if you are filing your nails, do it away from the phone.
Pardon?
If you are filing your nails, please do it away from the phone so we're not picking it up.
Okay.
Okay.
It sounds gone there.
Okay, great. And this goes along with that. You always want to look current. As I said earlier, today business moves at the speed of light. So you want to make sure that your date stamp if you date stamp your content. And again, if you're on WordPress, it'll do it for you. It just shows that you're a credible, up-to-date source of information. So if you're writing articles or blog posts, keep them up to date so that people know.
Again, if people are doing, let's say you were a medical professional and you were writing about a cure for cancer, it is 2012 right now. If you were writing about some advances in cancer that happened, in 2008, the timestamp tells people that this content is 4 years old. And so if we're doing research on behalf of a loved one, we don't want to see an article in 2008. We want to see one for 2012. And that's where that stamp really helps make sure. It helps your reader. It's okay if you've written blog posts that are 4 years old. We're not saying archive those or get rid of them. We're just saying make sure that the date is there so that somebody's actually looking for relevant information that you're providing it.
Great point. And then remember, spam. You want to reduce your spam complaints. So you want to make sure that you're always using a confirmed opt-in with your mailing list. Do not go to a networking activity, gather, business cards and enter them into your email list. That's a big fat no-no. Just so that you know, the CAN-SPAM Act of 2000 actually states that if you get 3 complaints for sending spam, you could be fined $1,100 per incident. So this is something to take into consideration. Doesn't mean you should be afraid of sending emails. Just have a confirmed opt-in. If you can show that they actually opted into your email list, that's not a complaint, because they have the opportunity to opt right out again.
Yes, good point.
And this is something that Susan can really talk well about. You want to maintain the credibility of your outbound communication at all times.
So what you want to do, and this is everything from your blogging to your newsletter to any of your social media posts, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, where you only have a few seconds to capture someone's attention. You want to stay on topic. And Barbara's referred to the inverted pyramid, and the idea is, to share the most important facts first, followed by others in descending order of importance. And so before you do any form of outbound communication, just ask yourself, if I could only share 1 or 2 key items about my call to action or why I'm unique in my market space, what would that be? So stay on topic. That will help you maintain your expert positioning, because you're only going to talk about one particular idea at a time. That's what's great about today's technology, the social media, is you actually have repetition at your disposal. And so it's okay to share just one idea at a time and then repeat it over and over and over again. That's going to work really well for you. Because the other thing is you want to respect your reader's time and interest. We say we want to be mindful, and it's really important, not just because it's good business manners, but again, you only have a couple seconds. So if you find a way to say in just, 50 words or less, what's special about what's going on, you're really going to connect. And then again, you want to infuse your personality. We really want to do business with individuals. Even though we're on the internet and we're trying to, form those connections, it's okay to let people know that you have a sense of humor, that you're passionate about a particular cause, that you're in the business because you have a conviction about what it is that you're doing.
Definitely. It's okay to be quirky.
We could check ourselves to see if maybe our humor is coming across wrong or is maybe over the top.
It's always great to check in with your
I think a lot of things that's funny that other people don't find humorous at all, and it really surprises me.
Well, that's a great question, and we're getting close to that because we have a special offer where we can help you go through your website and answer some of the questions that you have. So hang in there.
And I can totally relate to that. I have the quirkiest sense of humor, and sometimes people just look at me like, yeah, I must have, what are you smoking? But I also wanted to jump in here with a tiny tip, in that remember that you are the expert in your topic, but your clients are probably just at the beginning. So don't be the fire hose. Just be the drip. Give them just enough information to get them to the next step. Again, if you're using your site as a e-commerce site, you want to make sure that you have a secure server for your shopping cart. That can be very, very simple. I mean, as easy as working with PayPal. It's just making people feel safer working with you. I know eJunkie. You use eJunkie, Susan. That's another great resource. And then show confidence in what you do, and others will follow suit. Offer a guarantee. Guarantees don't have to be hard. I've got an example here for you. The number of clients that will hire you because you have a guarantee will really far exceed the number who ask you to honor that guarantee. For example, here this guarantee is saying, if you're not completely satisfied with the work we did together, no problems. You get your money back. Here's a stipulation you want to put in your wording, because you want your client to show up and do everything they're supposed to do too. Just a tip.
Yep.
So, like Susan said, if you need some more help here, we're here to help. This is one of our passions. So we're given this opportunity to apply for a free online credibility assessment and action plan. Normally, that's $147 value, but we're doing it here, and I have to tell you what brought this whole class about was that Susan and I have been seems like coming across some of the worst websites possible lately, and we just so want to help our solo pro pals, really maximize this wonderful tool of the web, the online presence. So we have some limited spots open, and what we're going to do is an in-depth assessment of your very own website and your online profiles. We're going to do an influence grade report. How cool is that? Actually telling you how you're showing up and where. We're going to uncover the obstacles and challenges where you are sabotaging yourself. And then we're going to give you some specific suggestions to boost your own online credibility. And you're going to leave with a clear action plan of what to do next. Plus,
all that for free?
That's free.
That's all for free. Plus, we're going to give you some special bonuses. I have a report, 50 online credibility tips, that I'm going to give you. And Susan has a report, 9 reasons why I hate your website. Talk about, your sense of humor coming in there. And 10 ways that you can fix it.
Dozens of ways.
Well, see, I can't even read. That's why I'm the designer. Here's how to apply. First, just answer a few questions. I'm sorry?
I don't know. I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. There's a few.
That's my name. That was all.
Okay. There's a few questions that we need to know to help you with your assessment. We need to know what your business is and who you specifically target, how long you've been in business, what your biggest challenge is, whether it's sales or marketing or visibility or, your messaging. On a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how important is it for you to get this problem solved? And number 5, what is the number one obstacle that has kept you from solving these problems? What's keeping you stuck? You'll need to include your website's URL so we can go and look at it, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook link, your Twitter link, and if you don't have those, don't worry about it. We'll tell you how to set those up, and any other social media profiles you have. And then you can email it all to me, Barbara, at soloprosuccess.com. Now, if you didn't catch all that, don't worry. Like I said, you'll be getting an email right after this show with all that information in it.
Excellent.
But the time is limited.
I think I should take advantage of this free offer.
Well, excellent. You'll be getting an email in just a few minutes to tell you.
That's what I've been afraid to have done. I can tell you eventually myself that, you can't break me into little tiny pieces by criticizing me, and I know I need to have, as I say, critique badly because I don't like it. But if I don't like it, then potential clients are not going to like it. And
well, excellent. Yeah, we can, and we can give you some real quick solutions that you can do immediately.
That is great. Are you guys going to be at the IRA convention or the IRA summit in Nashville?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know about that.
That's got it. Then I won't be able to meet you there.
Well, you have to send us info about it. I don't know about that.
Do you belong to IRA?
No, I don't.
The National Virtual Assistant Association?
No.
It's IVAA.org.
Oh, okay. I work with a lot of virtual assistants.
Pardon?
I work with a lot of virtual assistants, helping them with their business. But
That's what I am.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. So I'm looking right up the alley here. But you should check out IVAA.org. And,
oh, perfect. Okay, I will.
yeah, use my name. I get points.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I don't know if I get points or not.
Perfect. And what's your name?
My name is Phyllis Tyler.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, that's my email address on there. Well, let's open up the lines and see if anybody else has some questions that we can answer.
I'll send you an email. Oh, this is Karen, and I want to thank you for your help today.
Hi,
Really
Karen.
good suggestions.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Anybody else have a quick question?
No?
Yeah. Let me just give you my email if you have one for me about writing, which is Susan, SUSAN, at richwriting.com. RICH.
SusanRich.com.
Richwriting.com. So if you have a specific question you'd like to ask me, Susan at richwriting.com.
Okay. Great. Like I did, I got the 2 emails, one from each of you, so
Oh,
I'm a little
excellent.
bit confused, and so I just decided, well, I'll show up and it'll come out.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really fun. And remember, you will be getting an email in just a few minutes with the link to the download if you weren't able to get it in the lobby today, with those checklists for getting your case studies put together and for getting testimonials. There's also some great tips in there on how to use and publish them. There's also the information if you'd like to have us do an assessment with you. And, if you'd like to contact me with that email address, I will make sure that you get all of Susan's information as well.
All right.
With that, I think we are done with our show today, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll talk with you soon, I hope.
Thank you. Okay, excellent.
Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.